Hello and welcome back. I am Lori A. Andrus, and welcome to this episode of the Meet Me in Sacred Space podcast. Today, I'm just popping in on this Capricorn full moon to share a couple messages and just drop in and connect. And if you're watching this via video on YouTube, you can already see that I am someplace different. This is someplace different is actually on our land in the Keweenaw Peninsula of Upper Michigan. And we're in kind of a remote place. We have a nice little spot here where we set up camp for the summer, essentially. We have our camper, we have a big canvas wall tent, lots of other fun things, and we are on a little lake. And this sweet little spot is where we spend the 3 months of summer, or a little bit longer, a little bit of shoulder season too. But Chris and I have been working on a project, and I'll get into that project. I'll tell you about that as I share with you the couple messages that are coming forward for this Capricorn full moon. Okay, the first one is about finding sacred balance, finding balance within. The next one is return to your foundation. Return to the foundation. How perfect is that for the Capricorn full moon? And then the third one is about living your wisdom, your magic. Are you living your wisdom and your magic? Are you sharing who you are at the very core in your life with your loved ones, with your family, your friends, your community? Is that something that you've given yourself permission to do or made a commitment to do? You know, everyone has a different feeling around where that's at, but we'll dive into these three topics today. But before we go in there, I'm going to tell you where this first piece around returning to the foundation came up. So Chris and I have been working on this platform that I'm sitting on, not completed yet. No, I have not yet squared up and screwed down the pieces of plywood here behind me. But this platform that I'm sitting upon is going to be the platform for our canvas wall tent. And this wall tent is just a really beautiful, nice, kind of the big white glamping tents, if you can picture those, if you're not familiar with what this is. And I'll have pictures and, stuff like that once we get everything up. But this space is just really one that is kind of a fun thing for us to have up at camp. And last year when we brought our tent up, we placed it on our camper pad, which is just gravel. And we could feel all summer that we just wanted it up on its own platform. It needed its own space. We wanted to kind of expand our area here up at camp. And so we started to do that this year. We planned throughout the winter, considered a lot of different things. And our first plan was that we were going to build directly on the camper pad. But then as we got up here in the spring, we started looking around camp and noticed that there was a spot right here that looked pretty amazing. It gets incredible morning sunlight. It has a bit of a view to the lake. It can see camp. It can see the driveway. It's just a nice spot. And it's also really intimate within this space. And the energy when we stepped in here felt amazing, felt fantastic. There was something really special about it. So Chris started clearing the space. It wasn't a huge project to do the clearing, but he started clearing things. We started somewhat leveling out the ground. The ground is very uneven here. And we started just kind of, prepping it. And as Chris was doing that, I was sinking into ceremony and just really connecting with the land in this particular spot. And then we started building. When we were ready, we started building. And we got going, and things just were not flowing in the way we thought they would. We found ourselves bumping up against getting, like, we couldn't get things level, we couldn't get consistency in the some of the pieces, and we were just finding ourselves frustrated. And I walked away. Chris and I both walked away from the project for just, a bit, for an afternoon. We went for a swim. We went and did a couple other things, and we came back, and both of us decided that we needed to return to the foundation of the project. We needed to really get back to the base of it and look at what needed to be shifted at the foundation. And I think this is something that's really important in so many areas of our lives. And, even in the foundation of how we create balance, the foundation of how we experience our relationships, the foundation of how we are bringing ourselves into the world, whether it's through our work, through our relationships, through whatever pathway that is. The foundation piece needs to be solid. It needs to be deeply rooted and really steady. Now, in my work, this is actually an area that I feel like I've always focused. I often look at it as doing work around our roots. What is happening within our root system? What are we rooted into? Is it in alignment or is it out of alignment? So it was kind of a fun little playful thing to have show up in a different way for me. But I'm also a Capricorn, and this full moon, being a Capricorn full moon, if the light went on and I was like, yeah, this Capricorn full moon, of course we would be invited to reconsider our foundation, to reflect on it, to kind of get in there and figure out what needs to be stabilized, what areas are out of balance, where are things a little uneven, how can we create more stability in our foundation. And that was the key for us when we really sat back and considered that first. Every piece fell into place for this platform, and it went quick. We had the sense that this would be a quick project once we got going, but it took that piece of really, really ensuring the foundation. So, and I invite you to spend some extra time looking at what your foundation is in your life for whatever it is you're wanting to create or experience differently or develop in your life, whether it's creating new relationship with yourself or bringing your gifts into the world or expanding in your work in some way or another. Okay, so let's go into this conversation around sacred balance, finding sacred balance. Haha. Balance can be such a loaded word, right? Especially in our modern world. We have so many ideals of what it means to live a balanced life. And I kind of want to be a little jovial around that phrase, balanced, because I think there's this, I'm going to use myself. For a long time, I had this idea that there was some external sort of right way to live life and be balanced. And then I started to really recognize that I'd notice how different people were living their lives in balance or in ways that seemed to be in balance. And I would try to internalize them, to try and reflect that within myself. And I would find it wouldn't work. It just wouldn't work for myself. I needed to go within. I needed to go to my own foundation, to my own roots, and to really discover what my soul needed to experience a sense of balance. And what is it that nourishes me? One of the things that's really important to living a balanced sense, feeling a sense of balance, finding sacred balance for me is immense amounts of time in ceremony, ritual, and sacred practice, like really nourishing myself in the sacred and letting myself be free of any specific definition of what that looks like, to let my creative self be a part of that experience as well. Another part for me is about spending time in nature. I could sit in nature for very, very infinite amounts of time. This to me is so nourishing. The next is some good, hard work. I know that sounds really funny, but my body loves to lift things, move things, carry things, work hard. And not from a place of being overly exhaustive, but it feels, I feel the presence within it. And when I worked as an occupational therapist and when I worked with students in the schools, this was actually something that was on the list of what does a child need in order to be more alert and present in the classroom. And there's different body types need different things, or different nervous systems, I should say, need something different. And my nervous system is one of those that needs a little heavy work. So if you notice this about yourself, enjoy it, sink in. But that's part of building and doing some of these projects that Chris and I do up here in the woods. We enjoy spending our summer creating and digging in and doing some hard work. Notice what you need to create a sense of balance. Listen within, give back to the foundation, give back to your roots, and honor it. Give yourself permission to honor what comes forward. Okay, then the third piece, the third area for today, topic, message, was a question. Are you living your wisdom and your magic? I want to invite you to just let yourself ask your heart, ask your soul, and feel within. Are you living your wisdom and your magic? Only you know the answer to that question. And only you know what your soul longs for, what it needs, the dreams that live in your heart. And only you can say yes to them. This month, beginning with this Capricorn full moon, we're going to, as we move through the month of July, this is going to be an important part, an important question to ask ourselves. And as we ask ourselves that question, we're going to be invited to consider our foundation and consider how we balance that in our lives. I know balance, it's a tricky thing, right? We have responsibilities, we have expectations, we have things going on that we need to show up for. And there's ways that balance shows up for each of us. And the question of integrating something new always kind of can create that bit of a startle response, a bit of a freeze or fight, flight, freeze, whatever your nature is for responding, how your nervous system responds to the idea of making change. It's going to require a little finesse and letting yourself really recognize what are the ways you've been compromising that aren't in alignment for you, that aren't in balance, and finding ways to begin to gently release them, lovingly release them, and with honor release them, and recognize that there isn't a wrongness around this. Instead, it's that you've had an experience of, it served its purpose. It served its purpose. It had its time. And now you're ready. You've grown, you've expanded, and you're ready to embrace yourself a little more wholly. All right. So with that, my beautiful sacred friend, I want to thank you for joining me on this Capricorn full moon. I wish you a beautiful day. And as always, shine brightly. Bye for now.